record it onto this computer. Let's go. This doesn't move any further than that. Sorry, Ma.
Hey, Indy, how you doing?
Hey, bro. We've made it happen. We've made it happen. Let me just make sure this is all recording. Yes, it is. We are live. You're in a tent, man. How could you be more authentic than this, in a tent? Wow.
Hopefully people will still take me seriously, even though I'm in a tent, hopefully.
Bro, if anything, this proves to me even more why we should take you serious and validates that you're not doing this out of no hotel room with no support, no funding. You truly are on your own in a tent, and this is the kind of courage that is required if you're going to go on this path, ready to let everything go and keep following that inner calling. So just thank you for continuing. I know it's been a busy kind of month for you.
Oh, wow. It's been unbelievable. On that subject, what you just said, we've got to be willing to make sacrifices in all of this. And if I have to stay in a tent or I have to lose my life over this, then that's what's going to have to happen. That's how far I'm willing to go with this.
Yeah. So, Gary, maybe just for my audience, my generation, I know you've no doubt gone over this 100 times since being released from prison, but if we could just touch down on kind of what happened on that day, on the 19th, I think it was the 19th of September. You was obviously arrested, just to clear up what's happened, and then we can just move forward and take it from there.
Yeah, so if I go back a little bit prior to the arrest, it was becoming quite clear to me that because of the exposure that I was taking part in, I was starting to be targeted. And it appeared to start with moves being made to steal my assets from me. So I've got a property that I own that used to be my father's property that I rent out. I've also got half a property that I had with my wife.
Yeah.
And there were certain moves I could see that was starting to happen where they were trying to tie me down financially and take things away from me in an effort to potentially silence me. And this included a non-molestation order, which I can go into a little bit detail if you want me to. But it included the removal of a registered keeper from my van, which shouldn't even be allowed to happen. So they actually managed to remove any keeper from my van, which comes into the arrest side of things in a minute. Also, there was threats to steal my home and threats to steal my van as well. Wow. And those of you that don't know me, I've basically separated from my home address and been staying in a van so that I can continue doing what I'm doing, because obviously I've linked the Russian government to this. It's linked to Ukraine. It's linked to the most serious crimes against humanity. So, of course, I'm very mindful of the risks involved in what I'm doing. So I separated to try and keep it going into my van. Anyway, if we come forward to once I had that information about the DVLA appearing to be potentially involved in a conspiracy to remove my registered name, I then looked into the DVLA and the insurance companies and actually specifically researched them and found out that the DVLA were using a company called Electronic Data Systems to actually, they created the DVLA's register and also managed it. And I saw that they were connected to the fraud. So I started making inquiries with the DVLA, the Transport Department, and they refused to give me the details as to what the company they were actually using for their register was called.
Wow.
Completely refused it. Bearing in mind, I've also submitted various other police reports in relation to all of this. All of them are being ignored. So anyway, there was a few phone calls back and forward with the DVLA and Transport Department. Clearly, they didn't want to tell me who the company was that they were using, even though I had the evidence of the previous one having been used, linked into the fraud. Anyway, so I then found that all insurance companies had been centralized to this criminal network. And what that means is basically it gives them a pot of money through the insurance side of things, which they can continuously use to launder money and also have access to that money to steal from those organizations. More recently, I've found out that the actual organizations that regulate the insurance companies are also part of the fraud. All right. Now, everyone needs to understand it's literally completely centralized to this criminal network. Mm-hmm. And they've done that through controlling the currency production. Okay, a company called De La Rue produces most of the world's currency that's linked into the fraud, but also through tax rates control, insurance rates control, et cetera, et cetera. So they've managed to basically buy out and control everything using financial assets or means, but also through coercive control, whether that's linked to drug addictions or the sex trade, illegal or legal. Okay, and coercively controlling through evidence that's been obtained. Anyway, so I had all of this evidence with the insurance company. So I basically, at that point, I'm in a moral dilemma, aren't I? Do I continue funding the crimes against children by paying into the insurance, which is a criminal linked into the fraud, and the DVLA, which they're refusing to provide the details for, which effectively means what we are doing is going up to a stranger in the street and handing all of our personal details to someone we don't even know.
Wow.
All right, but it's obviously on an organisational scale. Now, having been in the police for 18 years, I know full well that, of course, the police would say, well, of course, you don't hand your details to anyone that you don't know.
Yep.
But yet here we are, an organisation that liaises with the police are using a company that they're not even refusing to tell us who it is because of the exposure to this fraud. So anyway, I didn't comply with the system in relation to my vehicle. All right, now I've never hit anybody on my vehicle. I've never hurt anyone in my life. And of course, now if we're now linking this to international conflicts, terrorism, and serious crimes against children, okay, then morally, I'm not going to comply to that. I'm not going to comply to that, particularly when the technology is there now to have a safeguarded, transparent financial system so that we can be sure that our money is not being used in relation to the laundering of conflicts, terrorism, and children. The technology is there. They're avoiding it completely, implementing a new system to ensure that that can't happen. So in my mind, well, I'm sorry, we can't comply. So anyway, I knew full well that this would create a dilemma for them if I got stopped in the vehicle. And so on the 12th of September is when I actually took part in my strategy which we're going to talk about in a minute, actually, to actually target peacefully and legally through exposure.
Yes.
The organisations that are on the front line of this fraud. Okay, so I actually took part in that on the 12th of September and did that myself. It's no coincidence that a week later on the 19th, okay, I was parked up. I was parked up at a location near Inverness, and a police officer originally parked up next to me. Okay, and I knew the risks involved. I knew they were involved. So I hid in the back of the van. I basically went in the back of the van, closed the curtain off. And of course, they were knocking on the door, trying to answer the door, and I didn't answer it. But they also had a black four-wheel drive vehicle that was sat up, 2023 plate, was sat up in front of my vehicle with a man in it for ages afterwards, trying to look straight down through into my vehicle, obviously, so they were trying to get to me. Anyway, so they then went away because I waited long enough, and then the police car came back maybe 2 hours or so later, and he saw me. I was outside of the van, so I thought, right, I'm going to approach him. I'm going to be completely honest, and I went and approached him, and I said, look, I didn't answer the van to you earlier because of what I'm exposing, and I told him about what I was exposing. I even showed him a YouTube video. I said, look, you guys, you are in the thick of this now. And basically explained it as best as I could. Yep. He said, oh, no, it's okay. We've just basically had a call that because you were parked here for a couple of days, they were concerned that something might have happened to you. I'm thinking, yeah, right, of course. Yeah, okay. And he said, oh, you can stay another night here if you want. I was like, okay. And he went away. Anyway, maybe 2 or 3 hours later, or around that time, I drove away and he was parked up waiting for me to leave. So he was parked up at the side and I ended up pulling over, and this is when the stop happened. And I knew exactly where it was going to go, so I cautioned him straight away. It's on and I had this all on TikTok, so I live streamed everything.
Yeah, we saw it. Yeah,
so if I hadn't have done that, I might not even still be here today.
Yeah.
To be honest,
seriously.
There were 900 people watching that live stream. So I cautioned the guy. Obviously, because I realised where this was going to go, and he continued. I offered to show the evidence multiple times. It's all shown on the video. I had the document in the vehicle. I could have proven everything with the DVLA and the insurance companies. Couldn't obviously just go and walk in without him allowing me to, because then you're starting to, him getting concerned. Yeah. Anyway, so he continued. So I arrested him. So I used the words, didn't physically arrest him. So I arrested that police officer. They then got 2 other police officers to come up. I then tried to show the evidence and tried to explain everything. They obviously didn't want to know. So I arrested them as well, cautioned them and arrested those 3 police officers and asked that they get people to come to the location that are not corrupted by this system. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. They then obviously wanted my details, and I knew that by refusing my details, they were probably going to arrest me. So I refused the details in the hope that it would trigger an investigation so that I could implement my evidence through into their legal system. Okay. Yep. So they arrested me, seized the van, took me to Inverness police station, and within 2 or 3 hours, they were going to bail me in relation to the road traffic side of things. Okay. And they offered me the bail form to sign, and the sergeant that was offering it to me, it was as if he knew something was going to happen to me if I left, because he was like saying words to the effect of, look, it's entirely voluntarily if you want to sign this. It's up to you. I can't make you sign this. Like, he said that quite a few times.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
My instinct said, do not sign this. Do not leave the police station at the moment.
Yeah.
So I made sure I told them all, everywhere I was going in custody, I was saying, look, I'm uncovering serious major fraud here. Everything you're doing is now unlawful because of this forgery, because of the forgery behind the system.
Yep.
I explained the links to the Russian government and said, the risks to me. Anyway, they put me back in the cell, and this gave me a bit of thinking time. And strategically, I thought, what can I do? Well, I disabled a cell tower publicly. I'd actually disabled a mobile communication tower. So I thought, right, if I start trying to get them to interview me for that, then I can implement in through that investigation everything else that I've exposed and how that links into the cell towers. So I made around 9 comments to the staff, the jailers, the custody sergeant, saying, look, you need to interview me for a cell tower. I've disabled a cell tower. I need to be interviewed in a formal interview.
So you admitted that straight away. You wanted them to speak. You wanted them to speak about you disabling that 5G tower.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Because I know that there's defences in law for doing it, and I know that there is no crime because of the defences in the evidence that I have surrounding it. And I was hoping to implement then all of the other evidence through that investigation. I could, if they'd have sat me in an interview, I could have sung like a bird about everything that I've found out, including the links to the children. And it literally is irrefutable evidence. Don't forget, what I've got is beyond all reasonable doubt. It is all connected to these crimes against humanity. Anyway, so I was in for 2 or 3 days. They reminded me, no interview whatsoever about the cell tower. Okay, so I could tell they didn't want me sat in an interview. And then it came to going to court for the traffic offences. They charged me for the traffic offences and bailed me to court. As I was about to leave, they then arrested me for the cell tower because I went not guilty to the insurance side of things, because you can't be fair. They cannot penalise somebody for refusing to non-comply to irrefutable evidence of forgery behind those organisations. It's just not legally possible.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I stood within that power and I went not guilty. All right. In relation to the traffic offences, knowing that I would get an opportunity at court to implement that evidence, about it all.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they then arrested me for the cell tower. They then started restricting my rights. So I was struggling to be able to get, they refused my bail on my home address based on the non-molestation order, okay, that was in place that I told you about at the beginning, even though they had twice offered me bail, even though that non-molestation order was there. So they were trying to think, right, how can we get to Gary? Well, now we'll refuse his bail. Yeah. Okay, we'll say it's because of the non-molestation order. That way we can get him in prison. Okay, They then delayed my rights. I couldn't get another bail address. I was not able to go into my phone. I was not able to phone anybody for days. I couldn't even speak to anyone, and I went in prison. So when I was in prison, I thought, okay, this is potentially an opportunity for them to get rid of me in prison. We all know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein and Max Clifford, and the speculation that I suspect they didn't die, but there is speculation that if they did, then they might have been unalived whilst they were in prison. It wasn't suicide. Yeah. And of course, my evidence connects directly to Jeffrey Epstein. So, of course, I had to think really tactically here. And I was like, what do I do? How do I stay alive? How do I protect me and therefore the evidence? So I decided to create a bit of a stir in prison. And what I mean by that is I shouted everywhere who I was, a former police officer, to all the inmates. I shouted, I'm investigating government crime linked to crimes against children. And I basically did that as much as I could everywhere when I was in prison. So I was shouting for myself. Obviously, this gained a reaction from the prisoners. Initially, it was a bit hostile. In the end, it appears as though that I was winning a lot of them over. Okay, a lot of the prisoners.
Even being
All
an
right.
ex-policeman in prison, that you still managed to win them over. Even saying this to them, wow, what a moment in history to have been in prison with you at that moment. Wow, like
Yeah, there was a time where because I was shouting this for about half an hour from my cell, and you can see they didn't know what to do about it because I was saying the prison service are involved, the police are involved, crimes against children. You know, shouting this at the top of my voice. The whole wing that I was in would
wow,
definitely have heard what I was saying,
yeah,
and I was getting responses back from the prisoners. Anyway, they then put me in isolation at that point, and I went into a different cell out the back of the prison, and uh, where was I going to go with that? So, but I was still able to communicate with some of the prisoners through the cell.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so whilst I was in there, that was for about 3 days. I was in there. I was allowed out for probably less than an hour for the first 2 or 3 days, and then about an hour a day. So it was pretty tough. You know, I'm not somebody that can sit in a little room very easily and just do nothing.
Yeah.
So that was tough. No phone. I couldn't speak to anyone on the phone. You know, so it was really tough. They made me feel quite intimidated. But anyway, so during this process, I was obviously shouting out the cell door the same things, and this created a bit of an interaction with some other inmates.
Yeah.
Now, I actually believe those inmates was positioned specifically for me at that point. I think they were actors because one of them was saying that he was directly connected to Keir Starmer, who I'd just been exposing.
They got to
And he
try
was
harder,
saying
man. They've got to try
it
harder.
was just, I mean, I even said to them, I said, look, you've been positioned, haven't you, to shout this to me?
Oh my
And they
God.
said, yes. He even said, yes. So,
Oh wow.
so anyway, this goes on for 2 or 3 days. Those same guys, then I believe they're being led to tell me and shout to me that my food's being poisoned. They're going to kill me. My water's going to be poisoned, or they're going to come in the middle of the night and strangle me in my cell. So,
Wow,
of
you don't
course,
want
I'm
that.
thinking, blimey, you know, am I going to get out of this? I don't know if I'm going to survive this. So then I had to think tactically again. So I decided, because they were stopping all of my rights and not even responding to a lot of my requests, I decided to speak to the nurse in the prison to try and use this evidence of the threat of poisoning my food to protect me. So
Yeah.
I got it recorded with the nurse that this has been shouted to me. I told her what I'm exposing: international government fraud, linking to Jeffrey Epstein, etc. So at least that was then recorded
Yeah.
with somebody else. I was concerned about my food being poisoned and the water, etc., and etc.
And
So
Gary, you said the day you came out, you said to me that on your live that they forced you to eat meat as well. They didn't give you a vegetarian option, so you was forced to eat the meat, and you haven't ate meat for years. 8 years, you said.
yeah, so I was given no option to have a vegetarian option in the menu. So I was kept getting meat, and you know,
Wow.
sometimes I did eat a bit of it, but yeah, I haven't eaten meat for 8 years. Most of the time, I would leave the meat and just eat whatever was left on the plate whilst I was in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I even requested, I put a separate request in then on a document through the prison to try and get vegetarian food, and I had no response to that whatsoever, and I was still getting meat put on my plate.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, so this all went on. I was constantly thinking, like, how do I protect myself? How do I make sure I can get out of here? So I made complaints at every single opportunity wherever I could, made written complaints. I had several meetings within the prison with the governor, and explained everything to them, you know, making all of the connections that I could to how big this was. Anyway, yeah, there was a point where I was out going back to what we were saying, there was a point where I was out in the yard when I was being given the exercise for about an hour, and a load of prisoners just suddenly stopped by there's like a big mesh gate at the entrance to their yard, and they were all go, there's Gary Waterman. And I had about 20 or 30 inmates, prisoners, all there
Wow.
wanting to speak to me. And I couldn't go over to them. I was saying, look, I want to come over and speak to you, but they're not allowing me to. They wouldn't let me go and speak to them. So anyway, yeah, it was tough. So eventually I got a bail address, and they let me out, but they gave me a travel warrant, which and told me within conditions that I had to leave Scotland, the whole of Scotland, within 42 hours. Okay. Wow. Now, bearing in mind, I hadn't been interviewed. They still have not interviewed me for the cell towers. Okay. Mm-hmm. I still have not had a chance to plead guilty or not guilty in relation to the disabling the cell tower. So they wanted me out of Scotland. Now, what this meant is I had no option to try and sort out my motorhome that they'd seized from me.
Yeah.
I couldn't resolve any of the issues surrounding that, and I had to leave Scotland. And they bailed me to this address in Torquay, which I'd got from somebody that was kind enough to offer me a secondary bail address. Eventually, I got that.
Yeah.
But I had to think, okay, well, if I go to that address and with what they've done, and they haven't even interviewed me yet, do they want to get to me and silence me before I even get to that legal system, before I even get my evidence on record? So I had to make a difficult decision to go homeless. So this is why what I've done is I've bought a tent, and I'm going to have to stay in a tent. Now that's obviously a bit more difficult for me, but I have to think of the bigger picture here on how I preserve the evidence through me, because at the moment, nobody else in the world, as far as I'm aware, is actually building the evidence that I am and securing that, which we're going to talk about a little bit as we go forward.
Yeah.
So this is where we are at the moment. So I've got 2 court dates that have been set in relation to the traffic offences. Absolutely nothing for the cell tower. I suspect they know they're in serious trouble, because I changed their plans right throughout the process. And all I've managed to do through that process in the prison is actually expose the system even more through the evidence that I've obtained through that. And even the seizure of the van. So the garage that was involved in the seizure, first of all, there was no, when they seize your vehicle, they give you a seizure notice.
Yeah.
On that seizure notice, it should have a police reference number. There was no police reference number at all.
Wow.
Now, this is
so criminal.
because that removes any continuity of liability and ability for their original stop and seizure and why they were even doing it in the first place. The email address on that seizure notice for the garage does not work. So I had no way of even emailing or contacting the garage that had my vehicle. They've now, since I've been out of prison, sorry, I'll just cover this a little bit and then we'll go into the other bigger stuff. Since I've got out of prison, I've obviously been building loads of evidence around what happened to me and also around the garage. And the garage that has my van are now refusing to even correspond with me. And they've told me that in a phone call, which means I have no way to even engage with whoever's got my vehicle to get it back.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that now they're panicking even more. They've sent in a secondary organisation to act on behalf of that original garage to try and remove the accountability and liability and the continuity of evidence. Okay. And that garage that they've now sent in, its company details do not match the company's house register at all.
Classic.
So it looks as though so it looks as though they've set up a fake organisation to try and cover just for this. That's what it's looking like.
Wow.
That's what it's looking like with the evidence. I've also.
When does it say it was incorporated?
Pardon?
When does it say it was incorporated, the company?
It's got a different on the website. It's got a company number. When you search that company number, it comes back to a completely different company.
Okay,
so
they're just really messing around then. Yeah.
I mean, all it's doing, it's just giving me evidence constantly. All I'm able to do now is expose this whole thing even more because everything is being documented. Yeah. Everything is being documented. So, where was I going to go with that? So we had the seizure. I can't remember what I was going to say next, but so now I'm in this position, in a tent and still trying to do what I'm doing. And I've got these bail dates and I'm trying to build the evidence surrounding that. There was something I was going to say there.
I mean, it must be extremely, just for your body, it must be extremely stressful right now. I'm guessing you're moving around a lot. I'm guessing you don't have access to power as easily as other people, showers, toilets. I know what it's like to live like this, and it's very difficult. So the fact that you're still continuing, the fact that you're still on the front lines is so honourable, and to me just validates the work, validates your mission and passion for this, because like you said, it's bigger than yourself, and you basically had to go homeless to continue it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to protect me, and because of the evidence. So I think if I'd have gone to that home address, I think the plan was probably to get rid of me at some point prior to any court dates. I think that's what they were looking at doing. Mm-hmm. So, so here we are. So now it's a case of, obviously, I've got to focus on a defence in relation to my case and building that evidence. If the court process is even legal, that's what I was going to tell you. So somebody identified that I was given 2 prison numbers. Okay, now the first one appeared legitimate. It appears they then gave a secondary prison number that isn't even a real prison number when they realised what they were getting into. Now, if that's the case, then what they're trying to do is hide me through the prison service and stop that normal process of my rights through a false criminal prison number.
Wow.
So again, I've got the evidence surrounding this, which is being built into the larger issue in all of this.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Undeniable and irrefutable, and it wouldn't happen in a normal situation. So this is, in a way, it's great that this has happened because it's just adding to the case, building up the document more and more and more, and proving to everyone that may have doubted you, is he a Freemason? I'm not sure. Well, look at his journey. Look at his journey. Look how he's still going, and look how he's been treated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say that the reason I've produced this document is anyone that doesn't trust me, they can just go and look at the document and it proves everything, you see.
That,
So,
that's what I've been telling my people. That if you kind of at this point, it's like f the messenger. It's not even about the messenger. It's about the message, and it's irrefutable. Like whether you're the biggest psyop ever, the fact is, Company House has now been shown to be criminal, regardless, and that is where we can take that as the people observing this and really run for it. And hopefully, we're going to speak about this a bit, how we can support you and take this document and start becoming mini Gary Watermans ourselves, because you can no longer do this on your own.
yeah, no, absolutely right. This needs to be a collective strategy. And the more people that get behind this, the safer I become, you see. And I won't have to worry about going into an address, you see, because I'll
Exactly.
know that other people are doing this and are part of this movement.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so is there anything I can open up, Gary, to start this? I know you've sent me a few files.
Yeah, so if you go to, I suppose let's look at that document that I sent you today, which is
The
it's
action
a
pack hand.
handout. Yeah, let's have a quick look at that, please.
Cool. So,
Now I have rushed to sort of do this document, and I want a big massive thanks needs to go to Aisha from God FM, okay, because Aisha was the one that started doing these sorts of these documents and putting this together. But obviously we've all got different opinions on how it should look or how it should be worded, so I've just tweaked it based on what she had done, basically.
yeah,
And
we definitely big up Aisha, God FM. She was one of the biggest supporters, very godly woman, making sure there was prayer. And I said this to you already. She really made sure that the world knew what was going on. So big up Aisha.
yeah, absolutely. She seems to be an amazing person. I mean, she's just doing so much now. I can't thank her enough. So if we look at this document, it's, as I said, this is just what a basis of what it's going to include. So we'll come to in a minute the other documents. So at the top here, we've just put some sort of heading for now. We've put the who's producing it, and we're trying to make this as simple for everybody on how they can be engage with the solution to these world problems. Okay,
This
and if
is
we think
massive.
about it now we know what the system is, how they've been doing it, why it's criminal, the implications of that upon humanity. We now know what needs to actually be achieved through any movement. Okay, and just a quick example. So we know they're hiding the public spending money, taxation, etc. Okay, we know they through this system of crime and fraud.
Yeah.
Okay, so we now know there has to be a transparent financial system somehow, more transparent at source, because once you have that, it doesn't matter who your leaders are in terms of them being able to corrupt the financial system, because the people can audit the finances at the source of the payments.
Yes.
Okay, so immediately you have that accountability, liability, and transparency, which stops them being able to launder unknown money or unknown quantities of money through the public spending sector.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, that's got to happen now. It's got to happen. We also know that because obviously there's been no verification within company and corporations, and they've had the forgery in place, which is the forgery of the register and the forgery of the incorporation documents, we know that we need to stop that. We need accountability and liability. So therefore, there needs to be full verification of company incorporations so that we know that the names being used are correct
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that the addresses being used are correct.
Yeah.
Right? This
Definitely.
is now essential. If those two things happen, you will end this forever.
Yeah.
Forever. There's also some other sort of things that are sideline things that need to happen as a result of this evidence, but we'll come to that later. So what we've done here is anyone can just pick this up and just get an overview as to what it's about, first of all. So we've put the summary. I can't read that on the screen at the moment, so I don't know. Are you able to
I'm
read
happy
what
to
it
read
says,
all of
please?
this if you are. I think it's important, so I'm happy to
Please,
read
yeah,
it.
please.
Okay, so
Please.
part one, a brief summary. A full summary of evidence is provided within the main evidential research document that is provided as a separate document. So that's the 500-page document that Gary's been working on.
Yep.
So it says, since 2022, former police constable Gary Waterman has acquired irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralized criminal system of government fraud involving the forgery of Company House's registration system and its incorporation documents. This allows the funneling of trillions of pounds defrauded from the masses into offshore accounts, and there has been no verification, which deliberately and knowingly facilitates the laundering of money in relation to international conflicts, terrorism, drug trafficking, people trafficking, and the abuse, torture, and unaliving of children, the most innocent of all. Sadly, the evidence shows that the government, intelligent agencies, police, and military are involved and are ignoring all reports and details in the main evidential research document. So, part two, shall I carry on?
Please. Yes, please.
Part two is evidence, documents, and contact. To obtain the initial and updated documents, please make direct contact through WhatsApp or email. This will limit infiltration of the evidence. So yeah, through WhatsApp, through email is the best way, because that way it's harder for them to actually get into the document, make changes, right? I remember you saying that before.
Yeah, exactly. They've infiltrated everything I've been doing. So even if I produce a document file link, that's being corrupted.
Yeah.
And if you put stuff on social media, they obviously control social media.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think primarily the evidence needs to be shared on a one-to-one basis. It's much more difficult for them to control that.
So like, through WhatsApp, just forwarding it on, and as much as possible having cold copies of it, on a USB stick that's off of the internet. So you've got your own version. Ideally, if someone's got time and money to print it as well, it'd be great to have physical printouts. But let me carry on. So these are the actual documents. Document A is the action pack handout, which is what we're reading now, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Document B is the actual main 500-page main evidential research document, which is the most powerful document in the cosmos, basically, right now, for our liberation and for proving the validity of all of Gary's work. Document C is the Company House Research Guide, which I think I've got, so we can have a look at that. Document D is the closure notice, and document E is the arrest instructions. Let me read out your details just for people. So to obtain this information from Gary personally, he's giving his own personal WhatsApp number. It is 0788307343. That's WhatsApp only. And then you can also email Gary at garythetruthsetsusfree@gmail.com. That's garythetruthsetsusfree@gmail.com. And then there's a TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Telegram, but people will see that on the screen.
Yeah.
So let's carry on. Where are we? 1 second.
So Aisha has kindly put her contact details as well. If anyone wants that, then they are also on this document,
Yes.
which you'll be able to see there, and just some other links as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Aisha's the God FM team. Her number is 077735777738. And again, on the screen, if you're watching this afterwards, all of the information here. So at this point, there's loads of ways you can get this information. So part three, the strategy. Shall I carry on, Gary?
Please. Yeah, just on the point, I know there's a lot of contact details there, but the way we've done that is if something happens to me, at least there's another point of contact.
Yeah.
And if something happens to Aisha, you've still got me to contact.
Yeah. So part three, the strategies. Any strategy needs to be based on the evidence of the real issue, but is subject to change as the evidence evolves. Let me have a look. Priority strategy, public exposure, closure notices followed by arrest instructions. Based on all of the evidence available, the priority strategy needs to be focused on the initial maximum public exposure of relevant corporations enabling the fraud that is facilitating the world's problems in person, and if necessary, followed by their legal and peaceful arrests by the people. Serving closure notices on relevant companies. So I urge people to initially attend and serve notices on the following organizations which have all been centralized to the criminal system: solicitors, accountants, financial advisors, and Freemason Lodge. Oh, I can't wait for the Freemason Lodge one. Until the movement, I know a lot of them. Until the movement grows, these are manageable to proceed with arrests should they not abide by the closure notices. As the movement grows, other organizations will follow. How to serve the closure notices. You may want to practice the following process before proceeding fully to ensure that you are confident in your understanding and its application. Decide which company you're going to serve the notice on. It is imperative that when you are serving the notice, you film it and expose the interaction, ensuring that people's faces are seen, and it is advisable that you are not shown in the video at this time. This is completely legal in the circumstances and they cannot prevent you from doing so. Bear with me. Providing...
Just on this point, this is really, really important, okay? Because what they've been doing is hiding behind emails, organizations that then dissolve. They're using alias names, fake companies, so we need to bring it straight back to a personal exposure. Okay, that's why it's important that we now start showing people's faces.
Definitely. So, providing you are in the area to which the public have permissive access, the closure notice can be found at the end of this document and is also provided as a separate document. This is Gary and Aisha, this is so important, thank you. You may want to attend with others, but be proportionate to ensure that it minimizes any risk of allegations surrounding intimidation or public order act offenses. So basically don't turn up with like a gang of people acting very intimidating, because that is out of rhythm with this sovereign kind of energy. Ensure that the entire interaction is being recorded by at least one device. Remain calm, polite, courteous, and do not swear, but be assertive and do not engage in any debate during this process. The important thing is that the notice is relayed appropriately. Ask to speak with the most senior member of staff, but do not allow this to delay the process. So if necessary, proceed with the first member of staff, as they also represent the company and organization. Read the closure notice aloud and fill out any sections as you go. If you are asked to leave, remain calm and continue reading the notice as you leave. Leave a copy of the notice with the organization, if necessary, by placing it on the floor within the building as you leave. Record an exposure of closure notices. Keep a copy of the complete closure notice and forward a copy of it along with any uploaded social media links of the video using the contact details above. The video and closure notice should be shared far and wide. Arrests. The following steps of arrests will be provided on a separate document. Secondary strategies, financial non-compliance, networking, and research. So, stop paying all your taxes. Due to this evidence, you cannot legally or morally pay into a criminal system and cannot be legally compelled to do so. The system can and should be suitably safeguarding against criminal government activities. Consider stopping paying all utility companies providers, including gas, electric, and water, all of which have been centralized to the fraud. I hope people are listening. You need courage, but this is so important. Contact and provide the evidence to your local councillors, members of parliament, mayors, police, utility companies. Share all content onto all social media to raise awareness. Build your own local communities to work together on these strategies. Because guys, it can no longer be Gary on his own in a tent, We have to stand up and work together now and just flood this system with this righteous truth. So create leaflets and posters to promote the strategies. You should print this action pack and leave it in public locations such as doctors, surgeries, dentists, libraries, police stations, and local cafes that would be interested. Also on a bus, you can leave it where the metro is. Leave your newspapers there. So many people read buses. Pizza shops, KFC, McDonald's, industry of meat, leave it in their dirty places. Arrange meetings in your community, and guests can attend remotely to explain the evidence and answer questions. Consider other promotional such ideas. Research and expose further evidence of company house fraud. The research guide is available as a separate document. Okay, is there any more on this page? Okay, and so this, I'm guessing, can you explain this last page to us, Gary? So
this is the closure notice. It's gone off the page a little bit here. I just need to amend this a little bit. So this is the actual notice that you would read and give a copy to of these locations when you go into. So it's just this, it pretty much summarizes what we've already said, but just makes it clear to them that they understand the consequences of carrying on, and it offers them a chance to sign it, which of course they probably won't. So this is just more of a formal letter that we can leave at these premises.
But say I go to a solicitor or lawyer and I'm recording them. Is this what I'm saying out loud, this specific one? Am I reading this to them, or is this one that I'm just handing them to?
Yes, you can just read this to them, and hand it to them.
Maybe we should read it one time.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is what I'll be saying. I've introduced myself nice and calm and politely. I've asked to speak to the most senior person, but maybe they're not coming. So instantly I'm just going to start reading the document to the receptionist of this company, basically, yeah? Okay, so it says, this is a formal notice instructing closure of your company, organization, or face arrest by the police. This is in relation to government fraud involving the fraudery of Company House registration system and its documents. Since 2022, former police constable Gary Waterman has acquired irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralized criminal system of government fraud involving the fraudery of the Company House registration system and its incorporation documents. This allows the funneling of trillions of pounds defrauded from the masses, and there has been no verification. It deliberately and knowingly facilitates the laundering of money in relation to international conflicts, terrorism, drug trafficking, people trafficking, and the abuse, torture, and unaliving of children, the most innocent of all. Sadly, the intelligence agencies, police and military, are all involved and are ignoring all formal reports. Your company, organization is involved. Your organization has been identified as being part of that criminal system. This is when they take that big gulp. And by continuing to trade in any way without a suitable, transparent, and safeguarding system in place, it will be considered that anyone working on or behalf of this organization will be conspiring to allow the crimes against humanity to continue. This is a serious crime, and the people have the power to arrest in these circumstances under Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidential Act 1984 in England and Wales, or common law in Scotland, and the people therefore instruct you to close this organisation within 24 hours or face arrest and full exposure of these arrests. There are breaches of law, including under the Theft Act of 1968 and Theft Act 1978 and the 2006 Fraud Act. A video of this interaction will be placed into the public domain and a record will be kept. Please ensure that everyone in your organization, company, is aware of this notice and interaction and the consequences of continuing to trade. I'm going to offer you the opportunity to sign this document, but any failure to do so will not change the outcome or the subsequent actions taken by the people. You may also be placed into an evidential research document being compiled. And then there we have it for them to sign it. Wow. That is strong, powerful, clear words, very respectful, but as you said, very firm.
Yeah, and as we said, Aisha needs to take credit for a lot of this. She actually did a lot of this document. So massive thank you to Aisha at God FM. But it's very powerful. And what we're working at here is we're trying to use the power of psychological warfare, if you like. We know they've been using that against us. So what this does is you imagine you're working in a solicitor's, whether you know or you don't know about this. Okay, and you'll realise that your face is being put to that organisation and circulated with those words of crimes against children. Very, very powerful. Immediately, they're all going to be talking about this. It's going to spread like wildfire. It already is. And we know that because several people have already done this. And somebody went to one 2 days ago. And the first thing they asked on the tannoy, the solicitors, was, because they said, what are you here for? And said, well, I'd like some advice on fraud. And they said, why are you accusing us of fraud? So it's already got around, already got around the whole. Yeah. So there would have been meetings going on, all sorts regarding the legal system. There's loads of big things happening, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this is clearly the way to go. And there's no coincidence that I was stopped in my vehicle a week to the day after I went and did it.
Yeah. So I'll make sure that I have all of these documents on my Telegram, and if people could contact me personally, I'll try and either email them to you. But yeah, like Gary said, ideally it's like one-to-one is the best way. If it's like on a Google document link that everyone can download it from, the high chances that's going to be corrupted, and maybe they'll try and take some of the important information. I did notice reading that, and I know you and Aisha are doing this by yourself, but maybe if you can get someone who's just good at like just checking the words, just to like a couple spelling mistakes, couple of words repeated there. But other than that, again, it just proves you're literally doing this by yourself. There's no way it's your own hard effort. So yeah, that was one of the most incredible things to read. And now I know I've got something to take with me, armed, when I walk past that next Masonic lodge or somewhere like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've got to be strategic on how we do this. Now, lots of people have said, well, can I go and serve large organisations? And that's all very well, but at the moment, I think we've got to think practically of, the movement's fairly small at the moment. Until it grows, we can't practically follow that up with arrests of large organisations, you see. Yeah. So that's why I'm focusing on the smaller premises that are at the front line of this, the solicitors, accountants, financial advisors, and the Freemasons Lodge. The reasons they're in there is it's very obvious that they are massively part of what's going on. You can see it through the Company's House research. Yeah. You've only got to look at my main evidential research document. The main Freemason Lodge is linked directly to Jimmy Savile via an organisation called the Outward Bound Company. And there's information suggesting that the unaliving of children and sexual abuse has taken place at Outward Bound. So, that's why I put the Freemason Lodges. And we know they're involved because I had... a contact from a few weeks ago was claimed to be a Freemason for over 40 years. He said, Gary, this is a load of rubbish. Why are you asking the police if they're Freemasons when they come to arrest in this strategy? And I said, well, because Jimmy Savile's linked to the Freemasons. So, we need to know if they're a Freemason, they could be compromised. Anyway, he then not only blocked me, he managed to remove the entire correspondence on WhatsApp, which is an encrypted system.
What?
So so the whole correspondence, but luckily I'd screen recorded it all. So I screen recorded it all. And then they removed the whole lot. So they've dropped themselves in it.
So this guy is just showing the power of whatever, level Mason he is, that he can contact like WhatsApp directly and get an encrypted conversation removed from an iPhone. That is just that shows you the power, that some of these and the connections that these people think they have.
Yeah, exactly. There is no encryption. Everybody that thinks that their information is safe, it's a lie. It's a lie. There is no encryption. Doesn't matter what you use. They are literally able to monitor everything using a system of crime and fraud that they've got in place.
Yeah. All right, Gary. So where do you want to take this?
Now, obviously, the children are a huge part of this. Now, if I could just explain how we know that let's just say either this is really happening to the children in relation to this fraud, or they want us to believe the children are suffering. That's what I would say in relation to this, because the evidence is overwhelming. And if I can just summarize how I obtained evidence for me to believe that the children are suffering. So when I first started investigating the fraud, I started looking at key figures in this. So Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile. I looked at cases where high-profile cases where children have been unalived, allegedly. This included Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, the Elm Guest House Inquiry, Outward Bound, we've already said, the Haute de la Garande on Jersey, where there was mass murders, apparently, of children and found in a basement, the bodies of children. Anyway, so I'm investigating all Madeleine McCann, loads of big cases. And I found that it went to all of the same companies, really, really quickly, the same fraudulent companies that I'd already been looking at.
Wow. So
we could start to correlate an understanding then that, okay, this is going to be related to the crimes against children somehow. We started to build that verifiable evidence. And then more recently, I found the connection to the blood taken from tortured children. I mean, the evidence is now overwhelming that is a really big part of all of this for whatever reason. And it does appear as though it's tying into, and we won't go down this subject too much at the moment, but it's tying into the falsified biblical prophetic connections that I've found in the evidence of the fraud, tying into the collider technology and all sorts. So I don't know if we can, there's a video that I've sent to you. It's quite, on the scale of things, it's mild. It appears to be mild abuse to a child. Okay. And I just want to show this because this is why we're doing this. This is why I'm doing this, because when there are children appearing to be suffering, we have to be willing to make sacrifices to save those children. And if this system of fraud and crime is facilitating the crimes against the children through the laundering of the money in relation to those children, then we all have an obligation to resolve this, a moral obligation to stop this on behalf of the children. It's so important. So, yeah, if we can just watch, if you're happy to. Now, I hope it doesn't offend anybody. It's not, it's a very soft version of what is really happening with these children. And it appears to show a child being tortured to some degree. And you'll see that there seems to be tubes coming from the baby there, potentially where blood is being taken as they're doing this to the child.
And it's important to say that, for many people, they'll even find this uncomfortable, but this is not even this isn't even the cherry on the cake for what they actually do when it comes to obtaining this vibration from children. So anyway, I'll play it. I'm guessing. So this is a whole minute and 10 seconds of this child being hit harder than you would ever want to hit a newborn baby, with all these tubes coming out, newborn as well, because it is the adrenaline getting created in the blood, which these Satanists, these sadists, absolutely love. And yeah, so
Yeah.
is that good, Jerry? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so people that don't know about adrenochrome, it's yeah, pretty much what you said. So it appears to be that by terrorizing the child to a certain extent, it causes the adrenal glands to drain into the blood. And for whatever reason, they believe that this blood is important to them. There's a lot of evidence suggesting that it's an addictive substance, which immediately we're going to have a problem, aren't we? If there's a lot of people taking this blood and it's addictive, then we've got a huge issue on our hands. There's also a suggestion that it may prolong life in humans as well. And also we've got the connection into what I've been sort of touching on here in relation to the falsified biblical prophetic plan in all of this, and how this may be connected to some sort of cult belief system. So, you know, we cannot allow this to continue. If this is going on, and it does appear as though it's going on a massive scale, we're not just talking about a few children here. You know, you had
and it
Tony
appears
Blair.
we're paying for it. We're paying for it with our own money, which is when you realize that we're actually we're co-creating this reality with these Satanists. We don't realize until we move like Gary Waterman, until we start saying no, we don't realize how much we're actually giving them the funds to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the hardest things for people to understand. I actually had a comment on my video saying, well, how does you be getting stopped in a car connect to the crimes against children? Well, it's all, remember, you've got a centralized criminal fraudulent system. It's all been centralized to this, and we can see the connections to the children. Now, if there's an addiction problem, okay, within government in relation to the blood of the children, and they're controlling all of your money, okay, then think about it. That gives them the ability through this fraud to use your money for this addictive system they've got in place.
Yeah.
These addictions. So our money, and not only will it be being used for the children, if the...
Oh, Gary, you just muted yourself.
Coming in. Then if the other evidence is correct, then what they're going to be using the money for ultimately is your demise. You know, we're actually paying for our own demise in all of this. Now, I do have to come back to the comment I made earlier. We have to consider that all of what we're talking about here has been set up as a test against humanity to see if is humanity going to do the right thing and stand up to the system in the right way when they believe children are really suffering. But we can't rely on it being a deception. The evidence is so overwhelming. If there's even a slight chance that it is true, then I've got to be willing to stay in a tent.
And also, Gary, whether it's a deception or not, we have to do the same either way. Either it's a deception or it's actually happening, but either way, we've got to keep going. We've got to because as you said, the evidence is so overwhelmingly irrefutable that whether it's a deception to test whether we actually care for children or not, I'm going to prove either way I care for children. Whether it's a test or it's actually happening, the same action is required now at this point.
Exactly. And even if, let's just say that this and the other big topics I'm talking about are part of their laid out evidence of deception, we've still got, remember, 100% a criminal financial system in place that deliberately through their non-verification of fraud allows the ability for the laundering of money in relation to international conflicts, terrorism and crimes against children. That's on a very basic level. We have to come back to that. That's a fact. It's obvious. That is obvious. The rest of it, I could speculate and say, okay, well, maybe they're setting up the rest of this to make us believe that there's these threats from colliders or with what they're doing to the children. But even if just that is 100%, which it is, then that means it's got to be changed, because you can't have a government and their organisations involved in a criminal system that goes against the laws that they've implemented against the rest of us. It has to change, doesn't it? Whichever way you look at it.
Either way. Yeah. Exactly.
So, you know, so really everyone has a part to play in this. Even if people don't feel comfortable to go into a solicitor's and do what the priority should be, you know, everyone can send an email to their MP or write a letter, you know, contact the councillors, send the evidential research document that I'm producing to all of these organisations. There's definite big movements happening. They know it's over. I mean, I've just got information of the Solicitors Regulation Authority has just brought in new regulations on the use of, I've forgotten the name of them, but it's a particular role within the legal system. And it's been going for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they've now just said it can never happen again. I can't remember the exact, I've got it written down, but it's huge. I'm seeing movements all of the time. You know, if I come to, and I may have said this to you previously, so many things on the news relate to this. So you have Peter Mandelson was sacked a few weeks ago. He was the US ambassador. Mm-hmm. When you research Peter Mandelson, he connects immediately to CERN Limited, going back into the collider technology. Yep. There's a duplicate record that then connects back into the Hampstead child abuse inquiry, which via Ricky Dearman. And we're talking immediate connections. We're not talking 30 companies away. There's over 5 million registered companies.
Wow.
We're talking about within 2 companies. Okay. Wow. And that same record, okay, now for Peter Mandelson, that through the Company's House records, he also connects almost directly to the accountants that I went to in Inverness called Rittersons. And Rittersons, through the Company's House researched, and I hadn't even looked at this accountant before I went into them, okay, and put them on notice. Hadn't even researched them, and they linked to Princess Anne in the Company's House record that then links to Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, and all of the things I'm exposing almost immediately.
Wow.
It's just unreal. So that's all coming in from Peter Mandelson. And Peter Mandelson, the reason they sacked him, because he sent emails to Jeffrey Epstein in support of Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. Now, they would have known I would have found all of this out by them publicizing him being sacked. Yep. This is a big thing in all of this. They seem to be releasing evidence they know I'm going to find out and expose, proving everything I'm saying. So then you come back to, is it them using me to tell everybody somehow about this as a test to see if people are going to do the right thing? We have to consider that.
Or potentially the idea that, you know, their satanic beliefs, it's called lessening their karmic retribution. So by them knowing that you're going to tell people, they hope that only a couple thousand people hear it, but that's enough to say we've told the public our plans, and so in a sense we've accepted it, and then that way they don't get the bad karma because we're willingly accepting it, and like you're the person that they've chosen to allow this information to come out. We also have to think of that as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely, I'm sure you're very right about that. There's definitely an element of, you know, for whatever reason, I wouldn't have been able to find all of this evidence if they'd have hidden it better. So it's as if they've left a trail of complicated evidence for somebody to be able to find it through the forgery. So, for example,
my heart tells me that they're lazy and that this is the shift and that you've actually managed to find like the needle in the haystack. And once you found it, then it's irrefutable. That's what my heart tells me, that I would like to think that this was their mistake, that you know, that you just found it. You found the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. I mean, it's been no easy task, let's face it. And they've been trying to, although they haven't physically stopped me by taking my life, they've pretty much done everything else. Yeah, you know, they're trying to take everything from me. So they haven't made it easy for me. So, yeah, I mean, this is what we're talking, world changing events coming up. It's got to happen. Yeah. It's got to happen. We can't allow things to continue now. This has been exposed.
And this will change the whole world, right? It's not just the UK or Commonwealth. This is something that's going to be able to empower and emancipate the entire world once people know about the fraud and how they can spot it.
Oh, it's international fraud. I'm in touch with several people in New Zealand, the other side of the world. And Jacinda Ardern, okay, who was the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she was connected to the Earthshot Prize. And the Earthshot Prize links to the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which is actually the main company throughout the fraud in terms of connecting all of my research together via that company. Wow. So yeah, this is international fraud. Absolutely, the whole world is being affected by this, 100%.
Gary, maybe we don't have to go into it deeply, but we can just open up the document as well, just to bring it up. There'll be people that have never seen it before when they watch this on YouTube. It'll be great just to quickly actually look at the document so that you know this is what it's going to look like when you obtain it yourself. So maybe
absolutely. Good idea.
With me. Let me just open it up. Here we go. Beautiful. So. And Gary, how long have you been working on this document now? When did you start it?
Well, what I did initially was secure loads of evidence offline in terms of screenshots into separate documents because I was worried they were going to delete all of the records. Okay. So only in the last probably 2 months, I've been producing this document. And then lo and behold, the National Crime Agency about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, they suddenly removed 11,500 companies from the Companies House register, just suddenly like that. And
Yep.
if you look in my document, you'll actually see the National Crime Agency are confirmed as being part of the fraud, you see. So
Wow.
they're panicking, or they're wanting me to believe that they're getting rid of it, and therefore I focus on it and expose them even more. Again, is it a mistake?
Yeah.
Is it deliberate? I don't know. But so this is the document, and it's an evolving document. It's a working document. At the moment, it's just over 500 pages, but I've got vast amounts of other evidence that will be going into this document at some point. So you're talking well over 1,000 pages it's going to be at some point.
Yeah.
And obviously what I need to do is increase the exposure through the evidence in this document and get it to a point where we break the back of this. And once we know we're at that point and we're going to get a new system, then I can ease off a little bit. But until then, I'm just going to continue the exposure. And the maximum exposure that you can have is obviously putting pictures of people's faces within this document. So that's what I've been trying to do. There's no hiding from that then. So you actually put in their faces there within it, along with the evidence to support it. So it's a very, very powerful document. And if you go down to...
Can I just as well mention, Gary, you've said before, like, you don't ever do nothing, right? Unless you've got the irrefutable proof. So you're not putting no one's faces up here, no one's names up here, no information about companies unless you have found it that it's irrefutable. Because I've seen some people comment, oh, Gary, he's chucking the wrong people under the bus. And so I've always said, well, I haven't seen all of his content, but from what I know, Gary's only ever speaking about something as and when he's got irrefutable proof.
100%. Yeah, I don't say anything unless I've got the proof. I don't say anything unless I've got the proof behind it. Now, obviously, there's some things in this document where it's a personal interaction that I've had that I can't prove with people.
Yeah.
But I've still included some of that information. If that was to go into the legal process, then you're talking it'll be hearsay evidence.
Yeah.
But pretty much everything in here is verifiable. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with me doing that based with the evidence to support it. Yeah. And if we just go to the bottom, if you type in the words Ritsons, is it Ritsons or Rittersons? I think it's Ritsons. I'm just going to show you we spoke about the accountants that I went into. I know we spoke about this previously, but I just want to show this again. So if you search, I think it's Ritsons.
Yeah, RIT connects immediately to Ritson solicitors that I had recently attended in Inverness, also connected immediately to the royal family and quickly to Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, and the main Freemason company. Wow.
Yeah. And what I've actually done is I've put their faces in this document. So where I went into the accountant, so anyone that's worked... Pardon?
What people? Are they on this page?
Yeah, not on this page. Now, if you go to the next search for Ritsons, you'll see two faces. Keep going. You'll see
it was this guy laughing at you, wasn't he? He was laughing.
That's it. So the reason I'm getting you to show this is anyone that works in the solicitors, accountants, or financial advisors, this is possibly what's going to happen to you, right? Your face is going to potentially go into this document that's being circulated around the world.
Wow.
Connecting your organization to the crimes against children. So any of you working in these organizations, you either need to resign or you need to get somebody to come out with the truth and expose what you've all been involved in, everybody, all right? Because this is what's going to happen to you. And once this document is out, that's it. There's no stopping it. It's around the world.
Yeah. So in a way, if someone like me or Gary turns up to your company and the best thing you could do is to be on the right side of history and say, do you know what, you're right, and walk out with us. Because otherwise, if you continue or you try to defend the company which has irrefutable proof on Companies House connected to the unaliving of children, it's not going to look good. And that's just unfortunately where we're at right now.
Exactly. And not only that, they're going to face arrest. They're going to face arrest. If that company... I don't say things unless I'm willing to back them up. But I need to know that the support is there from the masses first, behind the initial strategy of putting them all on notice. I'm quite happy to be the first one to go in and start making these arrests when I know that the support is there behind the initial closure notices and strategy. This is the way to go. This is 100% the way to go because the innocents control this.
Yeah.
Okay. The police become powerless. Okay. The government becomes powerless in how to deal with this. Think about it. As long as you are not committing a public order act offence in that initial interaction, and what I mean by that is the Public Order Act basically says that you can't use threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behaviour or disorderly behaviour that is likely to cause someone harassment, alarm, or distress. Okay, that's under the Public Order Act. So as long as you're not swearing, you're being calm, and you follow the script, they are powerless. Absolutely powerless.
And like you said, and a lot of people in the chat are saying this, just remain calm and do not swear. The second you swear, you lose all of your kind of sovereignty. You lose your position of power by coming there and be, in a way, you're an agent of God. You're working here. You're representing the Most High. So you don't need to, and you know that you've won. You know that they're a criminal company. So you don't need to lose your rag. You don't need to lose your composure. Say it calmly. Say it grounded. Get it on camera, and then just serve the notice. And then it's up to them whether they, what happens to the company in the next 24 hours.
Exactly. And the way this is worded, okay, we've got to remember, because a lot of people are worried about, speaking to these people and saying these words. We're directing it towards the organization. They represent the organization. This is not a personal attack on these individuals. Okay, they represent the organization, and the words are very carefully used. So you'll notice within the closure notice that it's your company has been, or words to the effect of your company has been identified as being part of that centralized criminal system. Yeah. Of course they are. Yeah. There are solicitors. Yeah. Okay, they're part of the government system. Yeah. So the way it's worded, there's nothing they can do about it because it's all proven within the records. Yeah. So it's incredibly powerful. This is the way to go. This applies the pressure in the right way, in a peaceful way, a strategic way, a tactical way. And then if necessary, we can follow it up with arrests. Now, if it comes to the arrest side of things, obviously you need to be very, very careful on how that is documented and how that is, how we proceed with that. But if it comes to that, then that's what we'll have to do. And again, there will be no repercussions if it is done in the right way, strategically, peacefully, documented, justified with the evidence. We have a power to do this. The people need to take back their sovereignty and the ability, prevent the ability to commit the crimes against humanity within this legal system as much as we can. And I'm giving you the power to do that within their legal system so there can be no repercussions and they become powerless. Let's face it, if we do this, can they invoke martial law based on this? No. Will that justify martial law? No, because you're talking you're not going with hundreds of people to a solicitor's. You're not being disproportionate in how you're speaking to these people. You're doing it methodically, tactically, with a script, within law, quoting law, doing it in a way where the government won't know how to deal with this. They just won't know how to deal with it. Yeah. And we take back the narrative. We take back that control by applying the pressure in the right way to the system.
So I've just brought this script up again, just so people can just, now we're talking about it, you can really start to embody yourself saying this, start to visualize yourself saying this, get a printed version out, because you're also saying you don't just read this out to them like you did. You actually, you leave it with them as well, whether they sign it or not.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And so, I can't remember if you said, you said solicitors, lawyers. Are you talking about any solicitors or lawyers, or is there, how can we verify which ones are?
They're all involved. Now, during the initial closure notice, I would advise that, tactically, you think if I was to try and present every evidence of every single solicitor to everybody, I just can't do it. I can't do it. They are centralized. They're completely centralized. And I know that, for example, because when you come in from, this is within one of my documents, the Julian Assange document, you hit the it's a superintendent's company, i.e. a police-related company. And when you go in through the directors of that company, there's like loads and loads of solicitors connected to it. Like you'll have maybe 3 linked to one director, 3 to another director. Yeah. So they're all connected, and even the regulatory bodies for the solicitors are connected. So you've got the Solicitors Regulation Authority, and when you can't, I've put that in my document. So I've shown you the evidence of the Solicitors Regulation Authority through the Companies House records linked into the fraud. So straight away, if the regulatory authority for the solicitors is involved in the fraud, you've got that, straight away you've got, okay, well, the solicitors are all going to be implicated. So what I would say is initially on the closure notice, because you're saying they're a centralized system, part of fraud. I don't personally feel at that point I need to produce the evidence for each individual solicitor, but I certainly believe that if we go back and we start making the arrests, then it's very important that we secure the evidence specifically about that solicitor before we go and do that process.
So anyone that's resonating with the work that you're doing, Gary, and watching this, basically, we can start to feel confident to go into any solicitors at this point and just serve them this notice, and just to document it. Freemason lodges as well, you know, to have the confidence just to go in there to ask to speak to the grand wizard or whoever the top mason wants to be, and if not, I'll speak to the janitor, whoever's working. Yeah, someone on camera is going to receive this notice. So I would say right now, collectively, we're at the point where we need people to gather together and just to start to serve notices. Yeah, like we're not going in to arrest people. We're not going in there with ego. We're just serving the notices, and also because that creates a chain effect. If they're like, oh my God, across the United Kingdom in the last week, 100 different companies have all had notices served on camera, on social media, they're really going to be, you know, shit in the bricks. What do we do? They're going to have to, like for you, they've had to change systems, create companies to try and get away with things, and they're going to slip up. So it's about people power and doing what you're doing, but just like pockets all over the United Kingdom. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone's actually come up with an idea of maybe having social media groups specifically for towns based on my evidence. The one thing I would say with social media is be very, very careful, because they've thought ahead of all of this, and they've actually positioned people within the truth movement, within social media groups, to act as a distraction and potentially even worse. So anyone that may try. So my primarily, I would advise that people form local community groups and do it through word of mouth, posters, knocking on doors, meetings, etc. Ideally, but you know, that option is also there to use the social media platforms as well as a basis to share the evidence on all of this. Obviously, you've got my platforms, and you've got Aisha's God FM's platform as well.
Yeah. And like you said, there's so many charlatans, false light, antichrist characters all over social media. The Russell Brands of the world, you know, people that are connected to the cabal totally, but they're given to us as leaders, and they're just stirring the pot. The David Icks of the world, they're stirring the pot. They're making you aware of what's going on, but they give you no solutions. There's no solution-based conversations or podcasts. It's just stirring the pot, telling you, oh my God, Rothschild's and the cabal, and you're a point of eternal consciousness. But they're not actually telling you how to emancipate yourself. They're not learning about your straw man or any of these things. There's a few people in my TikTok just asking about your number and how to get the documents. So I'm just going to bring up that first document again, Gary, quickly, just so we can, just for the people live.
And what you said in relation to those people. So I've confirmed they are part of this fraudulent system. Okay, so they're part of the deception. This includes David Icke and Russell Brand.
Yeah. I mean, all you got to do is look at Russell Brand in the 2012 Olympics. He was the Pied Piper, which is a child fiddler, running around with the most satanic kind of like pre-pandemic opening ceremony. You know, so clear, so obvious. You know, the Tommy Robinsons, the Katie Hopkins. You know, they're all having a massive gangbang laughing at us, man. And you know, and you can understand it's so overwhelming that when someone gives you partial truths, it's very easy to start deifying them, worshipping them as some kind of like powerful person, because what they're saying resonates. Tommy Robinson has a lot of valid points, but when you know the core of it is rotten and there's an agenda behind it, that's where you have to be able to notice a psyop. But for the people asking, so you can ask Gary personally on WhatsApp, yeah? So the 500-page document, the most important document, definitely in the world right now, I would say, for our liberation, is only being sent person to person so that it can't be infiltrated. So if you WhatsApp Gary on 0788, and someone can maybe write this down and pin it for me, Diamond maybe, 0788307303. So that's WhatsApp, or the email, GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. But please be patient. Don't just start getting annoyed if he doesn't email you or message you back within 20 minutes, because you can imagine there's hundreds and hundreds of people personally WhatsApping Gary, but the information is all there. And or you can join my Telegram group, and I post it into my group, and that's linked in my bio on TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah, Thank you, Indy. Amazing. Thank you, Indy. Yeah, so this document, I'm going to tidy it up a bit, do the spell checks, and then I'll get it sent back out to you and everyone else as well, along with the other documents. You know, my time, I'm trying to juggle so many things at the moment because I've obviously got these pending court cases. So a lot of my time is having to go into, you know, building the defence around the court case and how I can implement my evidence into that. but
Yep.
obviously I'm very mindful of, the main thing is we need to ensure that if anything happens to me, this does not stop. All right. So it's really important that people are learning to do what I'm doing. And this, I'm not a savior. I'm not a hero. The evidence is what's going to save everybody. This evidence is going to change the world if it's used in the right way, but it has to be done collectively.
Yep.
You've already said I cannot do this by myself. I can set an example by doing something and trying to show people how to do stuff, but it's down to everybody to be
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
this
yeah.
solution.
Guys, yeah, Jesus has been and gone. That time, that time of leadership, looking for an external leader to like Moses to take you across the water has been and gone. We all need to awaken to our Christ consciousness, to that power of Jesus, Joshua within us. We all need to awaken to the God within. Recognize that I do this for your own family and for your friends, and do little like little hubs in your community. There's in the area of South London, there must be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that care about this stuff that can gather together, get in a pub, all distribute these documents. But it's important, as we'll keep on repeating this. Do not turn up to a solicitor with a gang of 7, 8 people intimidating poor old Mary, who doesn't really have a clue for the company that she's working for. But the important thing is that we just serve it with respect, no swearing. And the more that this is done and repeated, and then you can go back the next week and the next week, it's going to be the downfall. It's going to be the house of cards is going to crumble. But it does take courage, and it takes people to take this document, start to learn it. That action pack that we've read out, start to learn it, familiarize yourself with saying it out, and say it to yourself in the mirror, firm and bold, knowing that you're a sovereign being that is defending children. Look, remember that video we just saw of the child being abused just to make it's like spiritual cocaine for these Satanists. It makes them young and they're addictive. And a lot of people said that the adrenochrome ran out in 2020, and you suddenly saw a whole load of celebrities looking very haggard. Look at like Celine Dion. She said she's got like, I think, coughing man disease or no, she's got stiff bone disease. They make up these funny stories. The story is that she ran out of adrenochrome. So it's really happening. And remove your cognitive dissonance. That video proves that that's happening. For it's a lot of people, it's easy to say, oh, do you know what? I heard Gary and Indigo say that they're putting humans in McDonald's. But do you know what? It's Friday. My kids want McDonald's. I'm just going to go and get it for them. It's very easy to do that. And I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. But something has to shift in you when you suddenly realize, do you know what? I can't do this no more. I can't have Pringles. I can't have Coca-Cola. They've all got aborted fetuses in. You start to learn. You start getting nervous when you go to a kebab shop. What is that meat? Can someone explain to me what that meat is? Do you know what I mean? And it really is dark days, but also incredible light is coming. A lot of people say, Indigo, in this sovereign movement, everyone's talking and about the birth certificate and all this stuff. No one's doing anything. Well, all I've been saying to people recently is go check Gary's YouTube channel. Yeah, remove your opinion of him, because to be honest, Gary, a lot of people just can't get past the fact you was a policeman, and I get it. A lot of people can't get past the fact that I used to be a catwalk model and I used to walk in front of Kanye West and all of these people, and they think, yeah, but that means you're part of it. Maybe we had to be part of it to be able to be close enough to then know. So, because now when Gary's getting arrested, he knows this isn't how it's supposed to be done. So, and also know yourself. I'm not asking anyone to trust us. Know yourself. And does the information resonate? And take that. Don't have to be, because this is no longer the time for deities and leaders. And that's why I think a lot of people find it a bit hard, because they're still looking to you to lead the way, but because they can't trust you fully, they just block it fully. And that's on them. I choose to be on the timeline of righteousness, truth. And at least if I was to die tomorrow, at least I can look up and say, do you know what? I tried my hardest, man. Like with nothing, in a tent as a nomad, I didn't stop and I tried my hardest.
Absolutely. Well said, Indy. Well said. Well said.
Yeah. Anything you want to speak on before we round this one up today? Because to be honest, I think this is one of the most powerful ones.
No, I just want to say a massive thank you. I mean, so many people have been incredibly supportive, offering me to stay with them, offering me money. I don't need money. I'm okay for money. I'm choosing to do this because it's the right thing for me to do at the moment, I believe. But I just want to say a huge thank you. Really, people have just been amazing. They really, really have. And I just pray that everyone does the right thing. That's what this is about.
Yep.
Doing the right thing. If you're not going to be willing to do the right thing now in this, that expect to face, because we have to consider these people are linked to religious establishments as well. So I've got the connection, which you can look at in the document, to the Vatican. You've got the link to the Church of England. Now we have to consider that they're trying to set up a judgment situation against man somehow as well. So that's the other thing we have to think about. They're presenting, or they're actually doing this, or presenting that they're doing this to you to see what you're going to do. And if you're not going to do anything and they're setting up some sort of judgment situation against us, Prepare to be judged, everybody.
I just finished watching the new 2025 Superman movie, and it is so encoded. I don't know if you haven't watched it, try and find a copy. It's all about CERN, the collider, like a new timeline being created. They're invading different land like Palestine, Israel. Guys, they are chucking in our face the truth of this reality. They're chucking it in propaganda, in movies, everywhere. You can tell that we are living in very crazy times. And as Gary says, this is kind of like false prophetic biblical Armageddon that they're trying to co-create with CERN. And it all does look like, if you read the Bible, it feels like, oh my God, this is very biblical. But when you know about DARPA, weather control, when you know what they're doing with CERN, it's like, actually, how much of this is actually God and organic and biblical, and how much of this is being created?
Absolutely. And if anyone wants to see my evidence in relation to CERN and all of that side of thing, it is within the document. So you can search that document. I know it's a big document, but you can search Donald Trump within the document. You can search Tommy Robinson. You can search Madeleine McCann. You can search CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, the King. All of these subjects I've covered. Yeah. So go and have a look at the document. If you want to know about CERN and how that ties in with the falsified biblical prophetic situation, then it's quite a big part of that is covered in here. And you've also got Three-Eye Atlas, which is a big thing, I think, that's coming up very soon. The comet side of things that they're trying to say is coming over that might be an alien mothership. A lot of people might not know about that. But that, again, ties in with my evidence. It's within the document. Go and look at it. Three-Eye Atlas.
If people don't know about that, the Three-Eye Atlas, to be honest, I only heard about it when you first mentioned it, and then now on YouTube, the algorithm heard me mention it, and now I keep seeing it. It's some kind of comet, which is, I think they're saying like the size of Canada or something, faster than the speed of light almost, and it will go past the Earth. I'm not sure if they're saying it will hit the Earth, but they're saying it could change everything forever. But basically, it's just another doomsday, let's get everyone petrified and give all of their power to NASA kind of situation, I'm guessing, something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it even exists. I think they're going to try and time something with it and blame it on that. I think that's what they seem to do. Is they set up all of these
grid, some blackout or something like that. It's like a Carleton event, something like that.
Yeah, the Carrington. I don't know. It's these people are just all about deception, aren't they? It's quite clear. We've got it in the financial system. It's followed through into everything else. So. But we do have these connections to the Vatican. So we have to consider that there is some sort of spiritual conclusive agenda in all of this. I mean, someone said to me the other day, we're going off a big topic here, but someone came on one of my lives and said that these people believe that they're the fallen angels and they're trying to bring about the escalation in sin and the falsified prophetic event on earth, even potentially the tribulation period. And I had to say, to be honest with you, my evidence does suggest, because of the connections to the technology linking in with all of this, that may well be the case, that they're trying to actually bring about that tribulation period upon earth. But I mean, that's a whole big another sort of subject. But again, it's within that document. So, go and have a look at it, see what I put, look at the evidence, and you can verify that evidence as well.
Yeah. And I mean, like the first time I came across you, man, it was the Gary Waterman connecting Church of Satan, cell towers, Elon Musk. And you're just like, oh my God, this is just so satanic, and you just don't have a clue. But Gary, we've had a liar in the call. So much support. Queen Vanessa, as always. It's great to know that you've got such solid queens and kings around you supporting you. And Britpack, a lot of people here just sending so much love.
And back to them. It's really nice to know that people are getting behind this. So thank you to them.
But now the next point is, let's get off the keyboards, and let's start going into these buildings with printed notices, with cameras on our heads, ready, GoPros, whatever it is, and let's start just doing, taking the baton from Gary and doing it in our own unique ways. You don't have to follow his exact structure. Just do it in your own unique way as well. All of the blueprint is there, And Gary's not being told how to do this from no one. He's just creating his own blueprint.
Absolutely. And I've said to everyone, look, you can do what you want with my evidence. It's public information. So you don't even have to put my name to it. Use it how you want to use it. Make it into a format you want to make it into. The important thing is I've given you that initial, evidential chain of research and connections proving everything.
Yeah.
But, it's up to you all to use it how you want.
Gary, as always, you're a king. It's been one of the most eye-opening conversations. My mum's right here, and the whole time I can just hear her going, oh, deep,
Hi, Mum.
Hey, Ma. Say hey, Ma. Just shout.
Hi.
Yeah. I'm just trying to
I'm
keep her off the camera, man. But she's right there supporting, and she's been by your side, and it's for her, She's so eye-opening and giving us so much hope that actually maybe there is a key, there is a remedy, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not all as scary, and they don't have all the power. We found a crack, and we can enter it. We found a glitch in the system. You are Morpheus, bro.
Nobody needs to be scared about this. Nobody needs to be scared. If anything, we need to be the opposite because, imagine if we didn't know about this and it carried on and these plans were true, we wouldn't have even known and it would have happened. We've got an opportunity now. We have hope now. We actually have
Yeah.
really a key to a change that we've never seen before on the earth. I mean, it's really quite incredible what we're going through at the moment.
And if anyone is scared, oh, I'm going to get arrested, I'm going to lose everything. Look what Gary's done. Look who Gary's calling out. Yeah, look, you've got the Flemings. He's calling out Elon Musk. He's calling them all out, and he's here laughing in a tent. Okay, yeah, he's gone through a bit of a difficult 10-day period, but is he alive? Has he died? Has someone killed him? Is he unalived? Yeah. So if you can even match 5% of the courage Gary has, if hundreds of us can just get 5% of Gary's courage, it's game over. We're not all saying you need to live in a tent and to like, be as bold as Gary and like drive without a license and stuff. We're not, you can pick your battles each day, but just 5% of that courage, loads of us, changes the world overnight. So thank you. I love you, Gary, truly. And I'll meet you in another realm until the day that I can shake your hand.
Cheers, Indy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.